Most people think power at work starts with a title. They're wrong. Real power gets built quietly by people with no authority on paper. So if you're still waiting for the promotion, you're already losing ground to people like Christine, who learned to run the floor without one. Here are 14 hidden ways to do the same. And watch move 12. It's the indispensability cage, and it traps your best people for years. 1. Stop understanding your task. Start understanding the system around it. A task doer says the report is submitted. Someone with power says the report is submitted, but finance won't release approvals for 3 days. Legal won't touch it before Thursday, and the client meeting is Monday morning. So it ships today, or it misses the cycle. Same job. One of them just proved they understand reality. Companies reward people who look busy. They depend on the people who know how the machine actually runs. Those are not the same group. 2. Your work has no voice. Other people give it one. Managers summarize it. Co-workers reinterpret it. Metrics flatten it into numbers that lose all context. 6 months later, in the promotion conversation, the person who controlled the story wins, not the person who did the work. Kevin did the work. Christine described it. Christine got the room, so narrate it yourself, not finish the client file. Instead, corrected the missing pricing data, flagged the approval delay before it became a problem, added the compliance notes so nobody needs a second revision cycle. That isn't bragging. That's stopping someone else from turning your labor into their leadership story. 3. Speak in outcomes, not effort. I worked really hard on this, lands as nothing. The organization hears one question underneath it. So what changed? Translate the labor into impact. Time saved. Errors caught before review. Risk lowered. Revenue protected. Watch what happens to a sentence. I helped with onboarding becomes I built a repeatable onboarding checklist that cut repeat questions and got new hires independent faster. Same work. Different sentence. Different trajectory. If you can't name the business impact of your labor, someone else will reduce it to hard worker. That phrase has never once protected a salary. Naming your impact is one thing. Naming the work nobody put on your job description is where it gets dangerous. 4. The work nobody names. Most non-managers get this wrong, and it's expensive. They earn power by fixing things nobody else can fix. Then they lose it by never naming what they're doing. Kevin is the unofficial trainer, the unofficial project manager, the unofficial mediator who absorbs every dysfunction the team produces. On paper, Kevin is an analyst. In practice, he runs half the floor. Every one of those roles is real management labor. None of it shows up on the job description, the review, or the pay conversation. Labor you never name is labor they never pay for. If you train new hires, call it training. If you catch errors before they reach leadership, call it quality control. If you smooth the handoffs between departments, call it workflow management. The moment you name it, it enters the record. That's exactly why some managers will resist the word. The word is the leverage. 5. Become the keeper of receipts. Confirm decisions in email. Recap the meeting in writing. Note who asked for what and the date they asked. When something breaks, memory turns political, and the version that survives is usually the one that protects the most powerful person in the room, unless someone else has it written down. Documentation puts a date on your version of events, because flexibility with no record is a trap. You quietly absorb a scope change, and the record still tags you as the one who shipped late. 6. Keep a private record of your own wins. Most people carry a massive workload and have no track record because everything they finish vanishes into the machine the second it's done. Once a month, write it down. What happened, what you specifically did, who it helped, and any number you can attach to it. 2 sentences per entry. Built a new intake tracker after repeated delays between sales and operations. Both teams were using it within 2 weeks. Without your own record, your career runs entirely on your manager's memory. And memory is lazy, biased, overwhelmed, and convenient at the worst possible moment. 7. Build sideways, not just up. If your boss is the only person who knows your value, your whole reputation lives inside one person's head. That boss leaves, gets demoted, or starts protecting someone else, and you collapse right along with them. That isn't power you hold. That's power someone holds over you. So build trust across functions. Finance trusts your numbers. Legal knows you send clean information. Ops knows you understand real constraints, not idealized ones. When something goes wrong, those people speak up for you in rooms you'll never sit in. Quick gut check. If you're still here, you already do half of these without getting paid for them. That's the problem. Everything so far is defense. Move 12 is where even the people doing all of this right walk straight into a trap. Keep going. 8. Learn the politics or lose fights you didn't know you were in. I don't do office politics sounds principled. It's also how you get labeled difficult while someone else gets protected. The building runs on politics, whether you play or not. Political literacy is just knowing who actually moves decisions, what topics are radioactive, and which hills aren't worth dying on. Watch the difference. The unaware one calls out a broken process in the open and embarrasses the person who built it. Ashley raises the same concern, frames it around risk, and never makes it personal. One gets labeled difficult, the other gets listened to. Being right and being effective are two different things. A room can punish the truth when it threatens the wrong person's status. 9. Set boundaries that move the decision, not boundaries that beg. I just can't carries no weight. I can take this on, but the report moves to Friday. Your call carries all of it. You don't have authority over priorities, so make the boundary force the trade-off into the open. Try capacity language. I've got 3 deadline-sensitive items right now. I can prioritize this new request, but I'll need you to tell me what drops. You're not refusing anything. You're handing the math back to the person who actually owns the priorities. Most workplaces train you to treat your capacity as a personal weakness. It's an operational limit. Name it like one. 10. Calm competence, with a lock on it. In a chaotic week, and most weeks are at least a little chaotic, people remember who panicked, who vanished, and who stayed useful. Being the steady one is real power. But there's a catch nobody warns you about. The reward for handling pressure is more pressure. Calm competence with no boundary turns into unpaid emotional labor. Build the skill, then guard it, or it becomes the exact reason you can't log off at 6. 11. Build expertise that travels with you. Knowledge is only power in the right shape. Hoard it, and people rout around you. Give it away with no credit, and they forget where it came from. Be the generous expert with your name attached. Kevin kept everything in his own head, so people learned to work around him, and his review called him a bottleneck. Marcus built the same knowledge into a shared system with his name on it and got asked to train the next team lead. Same expertise. One got trapped, one got promoted. If your knowledge only deepens how much they depend on you, you become too valuable to promote and too necessary to protect. 12. Stay valuable without becoming the cage. Being indispensable feels like power. Most of the time it's a trap. This is the cage. Kevin was the only one who knew how the broken process worked, and none of it was written down, so they didn't promote him. They couldn't afford to. They needed him exactly where he was. His reliability turned into something the whole floor just ran on, like the wiring inside the walls. Nobody schedules a promotion for the wiring. They schedule repairs. The goal was never to be irreplaceable. It's to be high value and able to walk out clean. Needing you is exactly why they keep you where you are. Real value plus a way out is what lets you set the terms instead of waiting for them. 13. Build outside leverage before you need it. Internal power has a hard ceiling if you have nowhere else to go. A worker with no options is easier to pressure, and the company never has to say it out loud. The dynamic does the work on its own. An updated resume, a real network outside the building, a current certification, savings that buy you time. A single live offer sitting in your inbox changes how you sit in the room. You negotiate differently. You stop begging for recognition from people who benefit from withholding it. The worst time to build options is the exact moment you finally need them. 14. Power is timing. Some people build genuine influence and then burn it on every annoying comment in a status meeting. They argue every point. They die on every hill. By the time something serious lands, their credibility is already spent on fights nobody remembers. Credibility, relationships, documentation, the energy you carry into a room. All of it is finite, and all of it drains when you waste it on noise. Save it for the things that actually move your trajectory. Stolen credit, role expansion with no raise, a distorted review, retaliation. Fight those, skip everything else. Power with no judgment is just noise with a louder voice. So go back to that person everyone checks with. The one who built power without ever being handed it. Remember Move 12, the cage I told you to watch? That's the one that keeps your best people stuck for years. You just saw the way out, and 13 more. They understand the system, not just the task. They narrate the work. They keep the receipts. They name the labor out loud. They build options before they need them. And they spend their credibility like it runs out, because it does. Here's the one nobody puts on the list, the 15th move. Every skill you just learned is also an exit skill. The receipts that protect your record become your portfolio. The lateral trust becomes your next reference. The outcome language becomes your interview. Build power inside the building, and you quietly build the door out at the same time. That's what makes you untouchable. Not that you can't leave, that they can't afford to make you want to. You don't get to command outcomes when you're not management. But you can control your visibility before someone else controls your story. You can protect your record. You can make yourself harder to overload, harder to overlook, harder to mistreat without it costing somebody something. Stop waiting for the title. Build the proof that makes it a formality. There's one of these 14 that quietly does the most damage, and it's the one that feels the safest. The moment your reliability becomes the exact reason they can't afford to promote you. I broke down how that cage gets built and how people actually walk out of it in the video on screen right now. The part that catches almost everyone is what your own manager is thinking the day you become the only one who can do the job. Watch that one before you do anything else.